It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Cork the Kid.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, a podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom for movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. How's it going, man?
Going good. I want to be a Mandalorian when I grow up. I just decided.
Don't we all?
Don't we all?
Moff Gideon especially.
Yeah, actually, never mind. I take that back. I want to be Moff Gideon when I grow up.
That's also fair.
I want to be Giancarlo Esposito when I grow up. But specifically as Moff Gideon. You have something I want.
Oh, man. Yeah, they really played the hits that last episode. And I think it showed. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the season 3 of the... I guess it's kind of like the staple of Disney Plus, right? It's like the...
Yeah.
That's the one out of all of them.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the one. We're going to talk about season 3 of The Mandalorian. Of all the... I would say that maybe like... the most up and down season.
Yeah, definitely the most divisive season so far.
But yet, still managed to end on a really, really high note, which is interesting because I feel like most times it's always like the finale that kind of struggles, but it feels like The Mandalorian, across all 3 seasons, the finale has been really, really stellar.
Yep.
And the season was no exception, but we're going to break all that down and so much more. But first, we really only have like one bit of news to talk about, and that is apparently Adam Driver is in final talks with Marvel to assume the role of Reed Richards for Fantastic Four.
That's big time. I mean, you look at just an actor lens, that's one of the best gets that you can ask for. I mean, one, he's already accustomed to the fandom, trek of, navigating those waters, the ancient waters. But yeah, he's used to it, which is great, and he's used to it on a level of the highest scrutiny that you can get, because being any Star Wars actor will get you that, unless you're like one of the big 3, being like the original big 3 of like Luke, Leia, and Han, like are probably get like the most like the least amount of flack. But yeah, that's an incredible pick. I think Adam Driver is gonna play that. He's gonna play that very much closed off, like the smartest guy in the, like, I'm smarter than everybody. Like, that's Adam Driver. If I were to just look at Adam Driver, I'm like, oh yeah, he's got all the things you would want, like all the mannerisms that Reed Richards has. He has it. I think it's about time we get a really tried and true Reed Richards. I do think Ewan Griffin did a great job as Reed Richards. Like, I personally think that's probably one of the better adaptations of a character. I just don't think he got enough time to do the things that he should have done. And also, comic book movies, they weren't in their infancy, but they were in their awkward teen phase at that time, so they weren't adults yet. So I think Adam Driver that's such a great get. I mean, that's getting an A-list actor one that's been through the fandom thing before, to lead your next phase of movies. I think that's like it's like the Reed Richards casting, the Doctor Doom casting, and like whoever you get to play like the core X-Men are like gonna be the biggest ones. Like, those are the ones you need to nail, and if this is the first one, that's a win. That's a huge win.
Yeah, I agree. I think Marvel has a really massive opportunity here to kind of set the tone with what they're trying to do in regards to not only the Fantastic Four but beyond, and casting someone like Adam Driver, if that's what ends up happening, kind of says to me that like we're gonna do something pretty monumental with this character, and he's gonna be a big deal, and he's gonna be nuanced, and he's gonna be very important.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's a great move. Like you said, it also opens the door, I think, for a lot of interesting casting options for not just the rest of the Fantastic Four, but also Doctor Doom. I think casting someone that's opposite Adam Driver is kind of, the umbrella's opened a little bit more, compared
Harrison
to
Ford.
compared to, who they would have cast, with a different Reed Richards, like, thinking of the possibilities of who they could get opposite of Adam Driver and really create a really intense kind of conflict. Because I think, or at least what I hope they're kind of what they should be shooting for as far as like the relationship between a hero and a villain is, I think they really need to look back at the X-Men movies and the kind of the dichotomy between not just Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, but also Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Like,
it was congruent
yeah.
between both of them. It felt so seamless.
Yeah, as far as like hero-villain relationships, those are probably some of the best that we've gotten in comic book movies to this point, to be honest.
I agree.
So I think that should be kind of what they're shooting for, that kind of relationship between Doom and Reed.
Yeah. Also, this idea of your fatherly instincts, I think that might be a huge theme going into whatever phase 7, if you want to call it the mutant saga, whatever you want to call it. That's going to be a big part, because it's the relationship. I think, the run you pull from, essentially, I think you pull from the early X-Men, and then you pull from Jonathan Hickman's X-Men. If you want, direct things, maybe you pull some stuff from what John Byrne was doing. But this idea that like Adam Driver might be a father right out of the gate, like maybe he's like, I think maybe you do an origin, but I mean, if you want to go them already established, which I think they said they were going to do, I think they said they were already going to exist there. I think it might be time, like, hey, they have kids already by the time this is going, and then you do this whole thing. Whoever you get to play Franklin Richards, like, you make sure it's like this big odyssey of family and the sacrifice of Johnny Storm. Like, you can go through all those throws, and I think they're gonna emotionally and thematically understand what's being called for. Like, obviously they're still Marvel movies, you're still going to want to please everybody, but I think just learning from what the later movies in phase 2 and the movies in phase 3 understood was like, the tone started darkening a little bit, but it didn't betray what it was before, but they started to understand like the seriousness of and the magnitude of the situations. And I think the Fantastic Four movies can reach those heights. Like, he's an explorer, he's the smartest guy you'll ever meet, but he's a husband and a father and a family man over everything. So I think Adam Driver's gonna, if this is the case, I think he might be one of the best actors you can get to understand that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, it feels like every week we're saying this about Marvel, but they do kind of need they're kind of like back in a show me phase right now, especially with the last few movies that are coming out. And then, I mean, the Jonathan Majors situation appears to be that it's heading in the direction that he's going to be done. And that's kind of really sending them on a really unclear path going forward. I mean, building the whole kind of next phase of movies around this character, and now it's looking like it's going to be a different actor taking on that role.
Yeah.
So, if they can... I know I've been saying for the longest time that like they should try and keep this Fantastic Four thing as close to the vest as they can, but I feel like maybe as like a PR move, maybe they do just throw it out there as soon as they have it. And be like, here they are. Like, try and motivate people a little bit instead of where they're at right now. Maybe they pull that trigger after Guardians of the Galaxy, because that's been, at least the early reviews have been stellar. Yeah,
that's what I did. And I mean, not that it's too much news, but like, I think some international reviews are coming in and people are calling that movie incredible. Like, so, I didn't expect anything less than from James Gunn, especially as a swan song, and those character swan songs too. It's like, we talk about it all the time, movies are some of your entire parts, and it seems like everybody was super locked in to give you a super emotional thing. And like, if they hold that same thing, this idea of family, and they add that to the X-Men, add that to the Fantastic Four, add the the relationships between like your characters like Wolverine and Cyclops, your blueprint is Captain America and Iron Man. Like, you have so many blueprints, you have so much talent in Hollywood right now. Like, they truthfully could get their footing back if they can land the Secret War thing. And then, I hate to use this word, like, I hate to use this verbiage, but like, if they can survive until you get to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and then we're going to go back to the way comics were, where the Fantastic Four and the X-Men were your sellers, like, those are the ones that were getting people to buy your books, like, so be it. And hopefully whoever they get to play, Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Professor X, Magneto, the rest of the Fantastic Four, those two teams should be the ones that are holding you up.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's really it for the news, to be honest with you. There's really nothing else going on. I mean, a couple tidbits from kind of like the PlayStation Studio side of things is that they're ramping up. It certainly feels like there were some promotions within the company. There appears that they're gearing up for the Horizon series and the God of War series, both of which that they've said they want to put the same care and attention into those shows that they put into The Last of Us, which is
thanks.
Great news.
Yep.
it was funny that they didn't mention Uncharted in that segment. But yeah, I mean that's all positive news. On that front, like we said, it feels like we said when we talked about the Mario movie, it feels like video games is becoming that next mine by which Hollywood is going to start to mine from.
Yeah, it was comic books for a while was the thing that you were pulling from for so long, and now, like you said, it feels like video games are about to be the new comic book movie. Like, everybody's going to try to get their hands on any IP that they can.
Because Mario has now crossed the $800 million mark.
And The Last of Us was the biggest show on the planet for every week that it was coming out, so... Yeah, it seems like the dawn of the video game adaptation is upon us. So
yeah, after a lot of starts and stops and a lot of people wondering whether or not this would ever work.
Yep, Doom. They went through Doom.
Doom.
They put poor Carl Urban in Doom.
They did put.
But then they also put Carl Urban in The Lord of the Rings. So I guess it worked out.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Mandalorian. We've been holding off, obviously, until the season was finished, and now the season has since finished, and now we're ready to jump in and kind of give you our thoughts on this season. And I think, first and foremost, I think this was maybe the most formulaic of the three seasons, as far as like it settled into like it's far enough along now that it has like its own like Mandalorianisms. You know what's
weird about you saying formulaic? I feel like if this is going to make sense, it feels new aged formulaic, where there's like an anthology episode in the middle. Not an anthology, but like a, you know, and not even a side quest, but like an episode that's like roundabout in the middle that needs to lead back into the thing. I think a lot of shows have been using that whole, I mean, The Last of Us had probably one of the best examples of that in recent memory. So I feel like a lot of shows are starting to do that now, and The Mandalorian took note, apparently, and that's what they did for episode 3 of the show. But yeah, it does feel like that. You got your twists, your turns, your people coming back. But I think the biggest thing about this season is just I think it's the non-understanding of what the predecessor seasons were and the magic that made The Mandalorian. It just felt a little lost. And it's funny that this is the season with the most Mandalorians by far. Like, and we talked about it when we talked about Boba Fett in season 2. Like, the next piece is like, we didn't think, well, because Boba Fett needed to make money and get people to watch. They were like, what if we just put them back in there? Which we've already talked about. But this season is just... it's the most Mandalorians. Like, you would think this would just be a Mandalorian, like, which it is. There's a lot of Mandalorian world building, a lot of new characters, a lot of characters we've seen before, but how many times can you go to the wall on that before getting creative with it too? And I don't think they got creative enough with the idea of expanding the Mandalorian lore. Like, I just feel like there was nothing we didn't know already for the Mandalorians in this season.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, the most interesting thing about this season, and we'll definitely talk about it in length, is the fact that the Mandalorian, like Din Djarin, had officially like kind of has turned himself over and turned his story over to the larger, I guess the Clone Wars kind of esque saga of Bo-Katan is essentially what this season was, and what this season was about was kind of tying up those loose ends and inserting Din Djarin into that story, which was an interesting direction for the show to take.
It was an interesting direction before Star Wars Celebration happened, and we found out what Dave Filoni's endgame plan. So as soon as that Star Wars Celebration hit and we figured out that there's going to be this essential like endgame-esque like Dave Filoni-verse tie-up between Clone Wars, Rebels, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, I said, oh, this season makes so much more sense of what they're trying to do. And this might be my biggest gripe with this season is, instead of, telling this consistent story, a lot of the season feels like putting things in place to get to the point where the Mandalorian is plausibly going to show up with Ahsoka again and have to tie into all these things. And, a lot of that flows through Bo-Katan Kryze. That's where if I'm being honest, she's the main character of this season.
100%. Yeah.
This is really like the Bo-Katan is like the only reason the Mandalorian and Grogu are there is because the show is called The Mandalorian. That's what we were accustomed to. If that weren't the case, this might have just been a season about Bo-Katan having the dark. He probably would have felt a lot more like he was in Boba Fett than he was in his own show. So
yeah. And I think that's kind of why a lot of those kind of floaty episodes in the middle kind of don't really work, because at the end of the day, like, it's not really tying much to him.
Nope.
He's more tied to what's going on with Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians.
I mean, it's such a storytelling beat of like, how do you tell your stories? You tell your stories through your characters, and when when the story's not being told through your main character, that's a recipe for disaster sometimes. And I don't think it's complete disaster by any means, but it is apparent that this story is not flowing through him a lot at all. Like, the only beats that it's flowing through him for is the fact that he was the original recipe Mandalorian that we knew from season 1. That's like, and that he has Grogu with him. That's like, that's all the only other big thing is that, like, his name's so much in the galaxy where it's like, all right, well, this is the man that the one guy from the High Republic can call if, like, they get into trouble, or Grief Karga can call. Like, that's about it. Like, it's just, and then the only other thing is he has the Darksaber. That's about it. But then that's dealt with. Like, it's not even, that's my issue with these middle episodes, is that, like, this whole season probably should have just been the second coming of the Mandalorian Civil Wars.
Yeah, and in a weird way, this season really retroactively makes that incredibly puzzling decision with the Boba Fett thing.
Yep.
Where they kind of threw Mando and Grogu back together during the Boba Fett show. How the season played out almost makes that make sense, because it's clear that they wanted to tie that up before the season of The Mandalorian started, because the core conflict at the end of that season and at the end of season 2, and then subsequently what happens with him in Book of Boba Fett, is that he's this apostate, kicked out of the Creed, and you would think that kind of season 3 was going to focus on, like, his redemption, but by the time you get to episode 2, he's redeemed. He's redeemed.
Not only is he redeemed, but, like, he also passes off the main character right to Bo-Katan after that, because now she technically, these technicalities with the Creed are just ridiculous, but by technicality, she is also redeemed because she didn't take her helmet off after she was bathed in the living waters after she saved him. So that's basically the first 2 episodes. Episode 1 is essentially, hey,
the catch-up episode.
Like, why are you guys back together?
Establishes the pirates.
Right, the pirates are a big bad of the season. I don't think we've seen the last of them either. I think we'll I don't think, obviously it can't be the same pirates, but we might see some more of them. But you essentially go back to Navarro. Well, he first goes to the armor. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go to the living waters, watch me. And she's just like, we'll see about that. And he's just like, I'm going. You can't stop me. And then he goes back to Navarro because he wants IG-11 back. So that's basically how the season starts. Is like, hey, I want IG-11. He's the only droid that I trust to go down there. And I'm gonna redeem myself. But think about that plot thread versus, like, what the last plot thread of the season, like, how just vastly different they are. So that's, like, a big inconsistencies piece is that, like, those are not even close to the same thing that they wanted ever. So
right. Yeah, and like you said, that really, and while this is going on, but he goes to Bo-Katan and he's like, I'm going to Mandalore, and she's like, why? Mm-hmm. It's still that kind of clashing of ideologies that we saw last season, but it really does feel that that's setting the stage for what happens later in the season, where, like, Bo-Katan really becomes the main character of the show.
Yeah, and I mean, another big thing is, like, the Darksaber, right? Like, the Darksaber is essentially, like, the MacGuffin, and they put so much time and effort into the idea of the Darksaber, and then they just... It just obviously gets past to her. Great, she gets the dark, but it's not this, like, emotional payoff. Like, I didn't feel much when she got the Darksaber. I mean, also the episode in which she gets the Darksaber didn't feel like it. You don't get that feeling. You don't get that feeling of accomplishment or this sense of conflict either. Like, I don't feel any of those things when she gets the Darksaber.
Yeah, and there was this whole intrigue about Din Djarin getting the Darksaber and what that was going to mean, and in the end, it really didn't mean anything.
No.
Like, there was that whole episode of Book of Boba Fett that is, the Mandalorian episode, is him kind of learning to wield it.
Right.
And then it
just doesn't
never really ends up mattering.
Right.
So it's really bizarre, and kind of, like I said, it really feels like they used this season as a way to make Bo-Katan matter ahead of, whatever this Grand Admiral Thrawn kind of saga
Right.
is going to end up being.
Yep.
Like, they used season 3 of The Mandalorian to elevate her status.
Right.
Like, it felt like, The Mandalorian, Din Djarin is kind of set. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't need any more work done on his character. Like, people love him. He's, popular.
Yeah.
Grogu's super popular, and, now we need to get Bo-Katan elevated.
That's an amazing... I think that's probably one of the best points you've made of, like, you got complacent with your main character and the fact that he has no more growing to... Like, that shouldn't be how you go about a character like that. That takes away the main character from them. Or that takes away character development, period. There's no more... You can't tell me there's no more development, especially for a character in a universe like this, that there's no more outside forces or internal conflict. Like, you had the internal conflict that you needed, but you ended it after episode 2 to pass everything off to Bo-Katan, which... That would have been great, but probably in a season just dedicated, or maybe give Kate. Why can't you give Katie Sackhoff her own show to get ready for this? I feel like that might have played so much better for what they were trying to do in the show, and maybe have Din show back up in her show. That probably would have played better, and especially the middle part of this season would have played better if this was inside of a Bo-Katan show instead of a season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, because we get to episode 3 and where we e-break into a completely new side story with
Say it. They e-braked right into Andor.
Yeah, into Andor, very like Blade Runner-ish, taking place on Coruscant with Dr. Pershing comes back.
And I was excited when I saw Pershing in the beginning. You're Pershing on Coruscant with everything we learned. I was like, this is getting kind of interesting. And then, the episode plays out and you're like, well, why is this? And I'm not a person to go, well, why is this here? Like, everything I think has a purpose. And I mean, I hate to keep bringing it up. The great example of this, but The Last of Us episode 3, what did the episode end with? It gave Joel Tess gave Joel the what? Get Ellie to hear, but Bill gave Joel the why, and we saw why he got the why through that whole thing. I don't think that same rule applies to Pershing in this episode with all these, all the things that we learn through episode 3. I don't think that plays as well because there's not this direct conflict to your main character. There's not this direct, mission or, conflict, or there's not this direct motivation. There's not really, and none of that has to do with Din at that point.
Yeah, I mean, all episode 3 does is serve basically the conceit of the final 2 episodes in regards to the cloning. Like, it just plants that seed there of the cloning idea, and then
but then the clones are immediately, well, I mean, the whole thing is supposed to be for we'll talk about it when we get to 7, because 7's super important to whatever this Dave Filoni, and I just this is the last thing before we dive into the specifics, but the last big thing that really bugged me was this. It's this whole idea that you guys just telling this great story of just like this guy that's a found son story. Like, this is great, and like all the trials and tribulations, and then season 2 you interject the actual Star Wars back into it and the bigger ideologies without sacrificing that relationship, and then you get to 3 and it's like, all right, chess pieces are being moved so that way when Thrawn returns, like, everything's ready in place, and the Mandalorians have their own faction to go against Thrawn that are teamed up with Ahsoka, that are teamed up with Bo-Katan, like all the, like, that takes away from whatever relationship they had together.
And honestly, it feels like, well, what's happened now, like the way you explained, is like season 1 was like this kind of really cool self-contained story taking place in the Star Wars universe. Season 2 kind of nudged it in the direction where it's starting to mix with like the greater Star Wars universe. And in season 3, it feels like the greater Star Wars universe has overtaken the Mandalorian at this point. Like, that's what kind of feels like has happened.
Yeah, it's a quality issue. Like, there's a lot of episodes, not a lot, but some of these episodes have a big quality issue, and it's not quality of production value or anything like that. It's it's quality of understanding what you tell stories for. It kind of portrays what I had the fear in season 2, but then the season 2 the reason the season 2 finale lands, it's not the fact that Luke shows up, it's the idea that Luke's coming to save this man, but at the end, what do you feel at the end? You're feeling this immense sadness because a son's getting taken away from his father for the betterment of the son at the end of the day. And that's why you care so much, because like, oh my God, Luke Skywalker showed up, but it didn't take away from from what the core of the show was at that point.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, part of why the finale of the season is so strong is because it does have those moments that make you remember how good the relationship between Din and Grogu is. Mm-hmm. And I think, the finale did a lot of work really saving this season, to be honest with you.
And Rick Fuyama, like, thank you. Like, you really, I think he does have a handle on the Star Wars I know he was, he had a much bigger role in, like, creating this season as well, too. And I gotta think that, I don't know if it's Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know who walked in the room. I don't know. There's been a whole bunch of crap and rumors about this season floating around that people aren't happy, whatever the case may be. I don't want to dive into that because we don't know what's true, but I just feel like it just feels like a lot of studio oversight in the middle of this season specifically. Like, it feels like 1 and 2 were specifically the idea, and then like 7 and 8, but like 3 through 6 where somebody was trying to do something specific and get things in place for something bigger.
Yeah, because, we get to the end of episode 3 and both Din and Bo-Katan are redeemed, and Bo-Katan wasn't even necessarily looking to be redeemed.
Right.
But, and that was kind of interesting too, that she kind of just went with it. Like,
that's like all the interesting ideas kind of get left in the dust. Like the idea that Din has the Darksaber, like I would have liked a little bit better if like Bo kind of did want, like obviously she does want it, but like she kind of just gives up. Like I don't know how I feel about that too much. Like, and I think that's more of a Boba Fett issue than a Mandalorian season 3 issue. But it does feel like she gives up a little bit more by the time. But that for what it is, like that still is a little bit interesting. But you kind of forget about that, and then she just gets the saber at some point. This idea that like who's the armorer? Like, is she evil? Is she good? Is she just like kind of just gets thrown away?
Yeah, and
like,
also this idea that Bo-Katan was so visceral about Din's crew being these kind of cultists and lunatics.
It's just,
and then she's just like, yeah, I'm in. I'm in the crew. Yep. This is the way. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
And conversely, like it almost felt like the armorer was waiting for this.
Mm-hmm.
She was waiting for Bo-Katan to be in.
Because, I mean, the armor knows that, I mean, everybody knows that Bo-Katan is like royalty, but I think that's maybe...
it was never clear to me that the armor cared.
Because she
her royalty.
She feels so separated. I mean, it goes back to Boba Fett, like... That's why you probably don't do that in the Boba Fett season, and that's probably why you do that in the beginning of this season instead.
Yeah, like it never occurred to me that like the armorer had any reverence for the royalty of Mandalore, was looking to it really felt like the armorer was trying to get Bo-Katan to take control of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it felt like.
But it's weird because why couldn't the armorer do that? Like, for all intents and purposes, like... The armor seems like she's got some pull. Like, she seems like she's got some pull. But, I mean, the only thing I'll give them is I do understand, like, Bo-Katan is the face. I just think they should have played that more of, like, she is the royalty of man. Like, it
was just never, it was never presented to us that any of them cared.
Well, you feel that in the Clone Wars that, like, Bo-Katan is, like, she is the royalty of Mandalore. Like, you don't get any of that in the and I think that's what you got to play into, like, this random Mandalorian from this that nobody knows is the wielder of the Darksaber, and his son is a Force user. Like that's a big deal. Like, what if he decides to lead his son down this path? Like, and like he has his son defeat him in combat. Like that means like this is the second coming of Tar Vizsla. Like I'm gonna save my thoughts on the Mythosaur for a little bit because I think they're waiting for whatever this Dave Filoni is to pull the Mythosaur card out because the Mythosaur is gonna kill Admiral Thrawn is what me thinks in the movies.
Ooh. And then episode 4 kind of more just wheel spinny stuff. It's Grogu kind of training the ways of the Mandalorian, which bits of that do pay off in episode 8, which again was nice.
I just think that episode is more of like a father-son lesson, like Paz Vizsla and his son, and Din and
it's the episode, of course, that we get Ahmed Best in the flashback.
Yep.
which is as Jedi Master Kelleran Beck, which we talked about a couple weeks ago when it aired, which, you know, again,
awesome.
was a super awesome moment.
Yep. One of the best moments of the show so far.
You know, a character that I would definitely be, again, we talked about, I would definitely be interested in potentially seeing again doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but that was just a really cool kind of flashback sequence, you know, that I really enjoyed. And then, again, episode 4 kind of does more Bo-Katan main character building, where she goes to the armor and she says, hey, you know, because her pauldron gets knocked off in rescuing Paz Vizsla's kid. And she's like, would it be cool to have a night owl pauldron and a pauldron with the mythosaur on it? And, you know, which is a cool moment because it shows that, you know, what we get in episode 5 basically is the armorer telling her, like, you're the one who walks both paths.
Yep.
So that's why you're the one that has to lead our people.
Yep.
And this is the beginning of that with her, the symbolism of her wearing both pauldrons is that kind of coming into effect. And that's really what episode 4 does. And then episode 5 is a big fight. Which I really liked.
Yeah, middle of the season. So essentially the pirate part of the storyline is dealt with. It's backed up. They go back to Navarro. They call in the reinforcements. You're outnumbered 10-1, Din. I like those odds.
I will say though, what I did like that the season did in this episode and in episode 3 was presenting the New Republic as not good. And not like all, you know.
Yep. It's tough. It's not like the New Republic went in and they were just like everything. It's not the end of episode 6 out there as much as you'd like to believe. Like,
it's so bureaucratic nonsense.
It's just there. It's.
And I wish they had leaned into that a little bit more. To be honest,
and I think they should have leaned more into that in episode 3, which they like. It's what the episode was about, but you really got to dive into it. Like,
the end of episode 3 does that really well. It's really interesting when Pershing is strapped to that table and the doctor's like, no, when Pershing's like, this is a mind flayer. Like, this is the Empire. And they're like, no, it's not a mind flayer. It's different.
We're the New Republic. We're the good guys.
This is a good mind flayer. Yeah. It's different.
Don't worry. You're good.
Look, you're in a white room, not a dark room. It's fine.
Right.
Like, I really like that idea. That was a really interesting kind of idea. And then it comes back up again in episode 5 when Captain Teva is trying to get the New Republic to help Navarro.
Yeah, and the New Republic's like, you didn't fill out the paperwork, so we're good off that.
Right. Yeah, they were like, nah, I'm not, like, you know, we would help them, but there's a bunch of planets that are registered to the New Republic that need help. They take priority because they're in our group.
Right.
And Navarro's independent, so we can't help them. Like, again, that was a really interesting
idea. Exactly what the Empire would have done.
Yeah.
So, man, that episode 5 is probably the second best episode of this season.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, you know, it's good. It's very reminiscent of the first Navarro conflict in season 1, where the Mandalorians descend in, but this time they're doing it to save the city,
right? Instead
of just saving Din. We get some good action sequences from a bunch of people.
The Mandalorians they're an issue. Like,
it shows their formidableness.
That is a good thing that this season did too. Is like the Mandalorians are not to be trifled with. Essentially, they're not to be like, as much as we herald Jedi and like as much as I think we're gonna go into, you know, once we get this Daisy Ridley led, like the episode 10 essentially. I do think we're gonna get back to like this idea like the Jedi are the top dog, but for right now, like. I feel it's weird. Like, I feel like kids that are like getting into Star Wars right now believe that like the Mandalorians are like the top dogs, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I think episode 5 is this idea of making sure to show the credibleness of the Mandalorians, which the show is pretty good about. But you know, it's more work for Bo-Katan, which again just plays better probably in a Bo-Katan show.
Yeah, and then it kind of feels like we're kind of, and then the end of episode 5 is a really great stinger. The transport that was carrying Moff Gideon was broken into and left for destruction, and they say that Mandalorians took him, and you're like, ooh, what does that mean? And then we get to episode 6.
This is the one that the people were waiting for us to talk about.
Yeah. The
It's mind-boggling.
And it's directed by Bryce Dallas Howard too, which is, you and I were both very pro.
We were ready to give her the keys to the car for the new trilogy.
To be fair, she did direct it. She didn't write this.
Okay.
Jon Favreau wrote this episode. So she's doing the work that she can do with the cast of characters she's given, and it just felt really disjointed and weird. Because you pretty much figured out that Bo-Katan's crew that she assembled has they're getting ready to I guess they're just mercenaries now. Yep. They're mercenaries with a big army,
right,
and a big battalion of ships. That's basically all they're doing now. Like the battalion that she got together to basically retake Mandalore, they're not doing anything with it. They replaced her too. They're mercenaries. Yeah, and they replaced her with Axe Wove.
Yeah.
Great name.
And then somebody else takes Axe Wove's spot. I love that trope in storytelling where, the main character goes and then, they have to replace him with somebody that just can't live up to the hype.
And this episode is so puzzling because they get to this place and it's pretty straightforward. They just want to go talk to these other Mandalorians, and then they just get wrapped up in a side quest for no discernible reason.
It's so puzzling. This episode is just it's insane that
the plot that Bo and Din end up getting involved in has nothing to do with anything.
And what's insane about it too is that episode 3 at the very least had the clone thing going for it. At the very least and it was a character that was in the season before Pershing. None of this has to do with anything. You can it's easy. You look at your season, that's what television is, and you go, can we cut any of this out and will it not affect the main plot? And you can cut this whole episode out and nothing changes. Everything's the exact same.
Yeah.
I don't know what character motivations change. Essentially she gets the Darksaber, right?
But that's incidental to what happens the whole episode. Right. I said, they got to that planet. They could have easily just went and saw these Mandalorians. Yeah. But they just got wrapped up in some nonsense. Because reasons?
It's just I wonder again, I don't want to even go here, but do you think this is we gotta save some money and we gotta save some time?
I don't think so, because they got Jack Black, Lizzo, and Christopher Lloyd to be in it.
How much money do they cost?
Probably not. They're not inexpensive.
Jack Black's a nerd. He'll be in stuff. Christopher Lloyd's a nerd. He'll be in stuff. Lizzo's probably a closeted Star Wars nerd. She'll show up and stuff.
It just felt like it just felt like a look it.
Yeah, look it. We got Jack Black and Lizzo and Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, great Scott.
Remember when Christopher Lloyd got announced and we were like, what is this about to go down to? It was nothing. He was
just a separatist.
He was just
he was admittedly kind of cool, to be honest with you. I did like that.
I'm going to spoil myself, but that's my favorite source material callback, is that he's a separatist and he's a Dooku sympathizer. I think that's the funniest thing of this whole season.
He was like, Dooku got cut down in his prime.
I said... That's when somebody just when there's a neo-Nazi and they slip up and you're like, what did you say? That was crazy. And that played. That was actually the best part of this episode.
Yeah, I did like Christopher Lloyd. I did like his performance in this, to be honest. But the Jack Black Lizzo stuff didn't really work. Could have worked if this was a different point in the season. If it was if Din had just done this by himself, in the beginning of the season, and this was the tempo setter.
I'm not gonna lie, this feels very, if you cut this differently, this feels very season 1.
Yeah,
early season. Yeah. It feels very season 1 or early season 2,
and it would have been fine. But like I said, episode 5 felt like it was moving the plot in a pretty interesting direction, and it felt like this one, for the most part, until the end, when they just do the thing that they got there to do.
They really shouldn't have done what they did in Boba Fett, because, you think about the character, triarch of, when you're building them out, your first one's your introduction and their introduction to being a hero. Your second piece is you beat the living crap out of the hero, and the third one is the triumphant return, and season 1 did it, season 2 did it, and it wasn't about, it wasn't about him being I mean, he was physically beat up a lot in season 2, but I mean, it was this emotional beat down for him too. He removed his helmet, like he was going through an emotional crisis in season 2.
Yep.
And he was also a new dad in season 2, and then season 3 just does not do the triumphant. But guess what? Probably, if you take the stuff out of Boba Fett and you put it in here again, I think the season plays even better. And it plays much more like a season of The Mandalorian than it does of a season of Bo-Katan.
Yeah, and then we end up, like I said, then episode 6 is essentially what the plot of episode 6 was, which was they go to see Axe Wove and the rest of the Mandalorians, and Bo-Katan and him have a fight, which is a good fight. It's a cool Mandalorian scuffle. We get a couple of those this season, which I quite liked.
But what's funny about this whole fight is where they're just in Wisconsin.
It's so crazy. What is happening at this place? There's lawn chairs set up. There's 2 Mandalorians throwing a baseball back and forth. I know it's not a baseball, but still. I saw
this video, and somebody broke down that like you can buy half the stuff in the scene like on Amazon, because I guess they were just remixing stuff for Star Wars things, and they were just in a random field. Like, it is a bit jarring that how normal this is. Like, they're just chilling. This is it.
It's awesome. And, Axe Wove was like, get lost, Bo-Katan, you suck. She's like, want to fight about it?
Axe Wove was like, you're with him.
Yeah, like, what is this? What is this relationship?
You brought to kill me.
Actually, Bo-Katan's like, I brought me to kill you.
Yeah, I bought myself.
I love the Mandalorian idea that, like, if you just have a disagreement, like, want to fight about it?
Yep.
And we'll see who's right. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. Bo-Katan basically wins, and the funniest thing about it is Axe Wove goes, you may have beat me, but you don't have the Darksaber. And then Din Djarin was like, actually, hold on. I have I have to interject a story. Back in episode 2, I got beat up by a robot, and that robot disarmed my Darksaber, and then Bo-Katan picked up that Darksaber and killed the robot, and so she killed the robot that disarmed me. Therefore, Bo-Katan wins the Darksaber. Am I wrong, Axe Wove?
And Axe Wove just subtly, this is the way.
Axe Wove is like, your logic is ironclad, Din Djarin. Defense rests, Your Honor. And there it is. Bo-Katan gets the Darksaber. She reclaims her kind of destiny, I guess, as the heir to the throne of Mandalore. And we could have just done that last season.
Yep. or
made this more interesting.
Exactly. Maybe just make this whole season about that. This whole season, in my opinion, should have just been get Mandalore back on the map as the Coruscant of for the Mandalorians. Like, that's exactly what it should have been.
Which I guess it still sort of does.
Sure.
When you get to episode 7 and 8, which we get into now, and I really don't have bad things to say about 7 and 8. They're great.
No, they pre-screened episode 7 at the...
And both 7 and 8 were directed by Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah, which, great, because I think everybody had the best handle on it, and I know he was very much interjected into this whole thing. So episode 7 finally said, oh crap, we probably should get back to what we did in episode 3, right? We should probably clear that up for everybody. The clones are back.
Yeah, Moff Gideon's back. We see him proper. Giancarlo Esposito is back as Moff Gideon. Elia Kane is working for him fine. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone was like, "Oh my God, she's actually not reformed." I don't think anyone was really fooled by that. No. To be honest, we go back to Navarro, and the Mandalorians are basically making a plan. Yep. Because Bo-Katan's like, "This is nice, but this is never what I wanted. Mm-hmm. I wanted to take Mandalore. Navarro's cool, but let's go take Mandalore back." IG-11 gets rebuilt as IG-12, and Grogu can fit inside him. Yep. It's a great bit. Yeah. It's funny. Yep. I can't lie. We get a meeting of some Imperial remnants.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Because this is the interesting stuff. This is the lore. Yeah, this is the lore.
We're loring right now.
This is the interesting stuff.
So there's remnants of the Empire that are kind of making themselves look like renegades, basically, but really they're working together in secret. And this one guy is like, "Look, we gotta just hold the line.
Hold the line.
Until Grand Admiral Thrawn comes back."
And you're like, ooh.
Who? You know who wasn't impressed?
Yeah.
Moff Gideon.
Because Moff Gideon thinks this is the best bit of the whole season. That Moff Gideon's just like Grand Admiral Thrawn, who I'm him. I'm better than him.
Where is he?
Where is he? He ain't here. Guess who is here? Me, from the dead. I'm back.
He said, where's Grand Admiral Thrawn been? And they're like, well, he's coming. And then Moff Gideon's like,
well, I'm here. And guess what I got? I went to Mandalore and I got my Beskar.
I am him. I'm him. Undeniably him.
He's the best character.
We get a Commandment Brendel Hux in this scene.
Yeah.
The father
Hux.
the father of Donald Gleason.
Yeah.
Great beard on that guy.
Great beard.
He mentions
that's his brother, I think, in real life.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think
he mentions Project Necromancer, which is the ultimate plan that we see play out in the sequels, which resurrects the Emperor.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Well, now we know.
Yeah,
now we know how he returned. It was because of this. Because Moff Gideon is messing around with clones. He's messing around with Mandalorians.
Yeah, so he says, I got something cooking, says Moff Gideon. I got something cooking. I'm in the studio working.
You know who's not cooking?
Yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Nope. Grand Admiral Thrawn's playing patty cake with Ezra Bridger in the deep space. He ain't here.
And then Bo-Katan's like, look, we got to go to Mandalore. Who's with me? And then it's a big I'm in. Axe Wolf is like, I'm in. And then Paz Vizsla like, I'm not going to let him out in me. I'm in.
I see the same fear in your eyes. That she should have launched into the same speech. That would have played.
And then they go to Mandalore. And it's on, basically. They go to the mines. They're like, we need to get to the big forge. And they come across a big ship. And it's more Mandalorians.
And you're like, what?
Well, that's how many more Mandalorians. This is like Kryptonians all over again.
Yeah, yep.
The last son of Krypton.
Not really, though.
So they link up with the Mandalorians that have been living on the planet, and it's pretty good.
No, I like it a lot. It's kind of this understanding, like, hey, we've been here this whole time. We've just been living under the surface.
Is that Bo-Katan Kryze?
Yeah.
And she's like, it is.
Yep.
And they're like, yes.
Queen Kryze is here.
I knew it.
Is that the armor? Is she a spy? No. Is she built different? Yes.
And then Bo-Katan goes to this really nice, actually, story about how, because the Mandalorians were like, we fought to the last man against Moff Gideon and company, and Bo-Katan's like, actually, what happened was I planned on surrendering. I know it's not very this is the way of you, Bo-Katan, but and she's like, I was gonna surrender, and then Moff Gideon betrayed us.
Yep. And
killed everybody, disarmed us, betrayed us, and killed us all. So I'm sorry about that, guys. And then Paz Vizsla and Axe Wolf get into a scuffle.
Yep.
That Grogu has to break up.
Oh, they're still boys, though.
Yeah.
They're still boys.
Because Paz Vizsla was making up the rules of chess.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, it becomes this when it makes a lateral move or whatever he said. He's the guy that makes his own rules up when you're playing Uno.
Yeah, yep.
They get attacked by a big dragon monster.
What is this season, man?
Yeah, and then and then they get underground, and then the plot starts plotting. And you're like, this is looking like an Imperial kind of facility here, isn't
It's
it?
the same feeling I have when you're playing Jedi Fallen Order, and you walk in and you're like, why is there like platforms in here? And you're like, oh wait, this is the Empire.
And then these white-clad armored troopers look like stormtroopers, and they're like, wait, are those Mandalorians? And then they fly up. And
you're
like,
uh-oh.
They fly now?
They fly now. And then you're just like, why wasn't the Empire doing this the whole time? And Moff Gideon walks in, he's just like, tried to tell him we should have done this. I don't think Grand Admiral Thrawn was thinking of this. Was he? Yeah, that's the best bit for Star Wars right now, is that Moff Gideon just thinks he's leagues above Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I mean, he kind of was for a little bit. And yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap. Where's Akbar? It's a trap. The Moff Gideon traps the Mandalorian on the other side of a door, and he's like, well. If it isn't my old friend, the Mandalorian. Look at me.
Look at me. Look at my suit. Look at it.
Ain't it nice?
Look at your suit. Look at my suit. Mine's better.
Look at him. Now back to me.
Yeah.
Now look at him. Now back to me.
Yeah. Suit's better.
Hello, ladies.
Yeah. His suit, whack. His gear, whack. His trinkets, whack.
He said, look at me. I'm a Dark Trooper now. He said, I'm basically a Mandalorian.
He said, and guess what I was cooking? Me. I was cooking me. Look.
Moff Gideon basically becomes a Mandalorian.
So not only does he become a Mandalorian,
He's been getting his ass kicked so long by Mandalorians that he's become obsessed with becoming.
He pulled a Kevin Durant. He said, if you can't beat him, join him. So
he said, "Look at me! I have a brand new Dark Trooper suit.
I have a new Dark Trooper suit."
The Mandalorians are all behind a door, except for Din, who got captured, and Moff Gideon's like, "Look at this.
Yeah.
See how easy this was?
Yeah.
I got everyone Beskar. You guys were sitting on this whole time.
Yeah, he said, y'all didn't say nothing? This stuff is awesome.
All right, now take him and kill everybody else." They open the door. Big sacrifice.
Yep.
Paz Vizsla stays behind.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Big machine gun guy.
Man, he was holding out.
He was holding that line.
Damn.
Until you're the Praetorian Guards from Star Wars.
Uh-oh.
They came and you know they're bad news when they come with their own theme music.
Yeah.
They came with their own theme music. They deal with Paz Vizsla. He goes out like a G.
Yeah, he does go out like a G.
He's choking one of them as they stab him several times.
Take care of the Gatling gun. He's like, but I still got these hands, and is just still trying to deal with them. 1v fight, man. What a legend.
Yeah. So and then episode 8. Whoo,
Yeah.
boy! This is a romp of an episode. Again, The Mandalorian. They've cracked the code to season finales.
Yep.
And this one is no different. It's just a big fight.
Yeah. Yep.
On several fronts. It's Din Djarin and Grogu.
Yep.
Grogu stayed behind to rescue Din. He's not in captivity very long.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, we go back to the core of the Mandalorian, which is Din and Grogu. And now they're teaming up. They're a proper team now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just Grogu kind of floating around and Din looking after him. They are a proper team, which we see play out in the fight with the Praetorian Guards later. And then on the other side of that, we just got big classic Star Wars gang warfare between the Mandalorians and the Imperial Mandalorians.
Yep.
The Commandalorians?
The Commandalorians is what we'll call them. Man, when all the Mandalorians are flying towards them.
They do this bit twice this season of the Red Room Mandalorians getting ready to deploy, and it goes hard every time.
That drop down, and then the armor dropping down right after them.
Bo-Katan flying in with the Darksaber ignited.
Rick really knows how to direct Mandalorian action. Like, he really, understands, just even down to, their subtle movements and stuff like that, how they fly. Like, I like that shot that he does where he puts obviously it's all CGI, but, when he puts the camera on them and, it's that POV shot of them flying, it's it works.
Also, just the big gang shots.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's such a good variation of a Star Wars way of doing, the war thing where both factions run at each other.
It's awesome because we don't get this in Star Wars, right?
No.
It's either we get
1v1s.
we get 1v1s, or we get big ground battles, or we get big air battles with ships.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, we got a big air battle with people on jetpacks.
Yeah.
Which is way better.
Went crazy.
Just the image. I mean, I'll spoil my best shot right here. It's Bo-Katan flying in with the Darksaber. That's an incredible image. The Darksaber is just an incredibly designed.
It's one of
weapon.
the coolest. It's one of the coolest things in Star Wars is the Darksaber.
Yeah, so her flying in, the armor flying in, just whacking people with hammers.
Oh, it's so good. The armor's like, well, you thought I was a spy? No, I'm just like that.
And then we get to the big room where they pull the curtain back. Dun dun dun. Moff Gideon's not only been engaging in cloning, he's been cloning himself.
It's the funniest thing ever. You thought you were gonna get a cameo, so you thought someone was. Nah, he's just cloning himself. He's Giancarlo Esposito.
He's so vain. He thinks the show's about him.
He said, "Guess who's not in those chambers." Thrawn. I don't see any clothes of Thrawn in there. It's me.
And wait till he drops a little bit of knowledge later on about what those clones could have been capable of.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome.
Yeah. He's just like, well, guess what,
He's such an self-insert character. It's crazy.
He's the best. He's the best. Guess what, Mandalorian? They were perfect.
Yeah, Din just smokes all the clones.
I love it. You know what? I shouldn't like this as much as it is, but they get dealt with it. He's like, nope. Now he started having flashbacks to the Dark Trooper. He's like, nope.
Yeah, we're not doing this.
Nope.
I'm just getting rid of these things right now. Great awareness.
Yep.
Great main character awareness.
Yep.
By Din Djarin, where he's like, this seems like a plot thread that could happen in season 4.
Yep.
Nope. Moff Gideon's like, how dare you? And then Moff Gideon's like, I programmed them and gave them the one thing I never had, the Force. And you're like,
uh-oh.
And I'm like, ooh.
That could have...
That could have been really fun.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
And then big fight. We're going again. Din Djarin versus Moff Gideon again.
And Din's getting packed up.
Bad. That new Dark Trooper suit is doing things for Moff Gideon.
He's got strength, agility, speed.
Big helmet.
Big helmet with the horns. He said, look at the designs. I don't think Thrawn could have made these designs, but...
He said, I'm the Mandalorian now.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no, is this show about Moff Gideon?
Has he been the Mandalorian this entire time?
This was the ascension of Moff Gideon. Oh no.
Grogu gets cornered by the Praetorian guards. Has a bit of fun.
Yeah, yeah. He's just laughing and jumping around.
And then
I can't wait till he turns into a Sith. Then it's going to be great.
we're just volleying back and forth, just mind-boggling action is happening. Bo-Katan splits off from the main party. Axe Woe flies into space.
Yep, Axe Wove's just like, I'm gonna just drop this big ship in there and just
I'm gonna crash this Imperial Star Destroyer into the ground.
Thanks, Axe Wove. You've been great. Remember when he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Thought he was gonna do a big heroic sacrifice. Nah.
Yeah, Axe Wove's like,
window.
yeah, and then Axe Wove's just like, I'm better than Paz Vizsla. At least I didn't die. And Bo-Katan shows up, and then it's Bo-Katan versus
Moff Gideon,
and another great fight. He breaks the Darksaber.
And then we get Grogu and Din
yeah.
teaming up against the Praetorian guards. Din just, in case you forgot that Din Djarin is him.
Exactly.
He deals with the Praetorian guards. Grogu, much like Yoda before him, just force pushing these guys all over the place, which I quite liked. And then we get Bo and Moff Gideon.
Yep.
And it's a great fight.
Great fight. Then the Mando and Grogu come sliding back in. Everybody's sliding in this last scene. They're all sliding. And Grogu's just like, I learned that from my dad. I learned it from my dad. So... They come sliding in. Axe Wolf just drops the whole ship on top of it, and then Moff Gideon gets incinerated. Or does he? God.
Grogu protects them with force shielding.
He does the I Am Groot from Guardians 1.
I Am Grogu.
Same music.
Similar music. And
you didn't believe me, and then we watched it before we hopped on, and you were like, uh-oh.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Moff Gideon is incinerated. Was he a clone?
Without the Force, maybe.
The original clone?
Maybe that's the best bit. Just bring Moff Gideon back every season.
Hey, we're fine with it with Avatar. I'm fine with it with this.
Yes! Yep. Yeah.
And then, man, we get to, kind of like the postscript. The Mandalorians have retaken Mandalore. They relight the Great Forge. They make Paz Vizsla's son a Mandalorian. And then
he's Boba Fett now.
Grogu steps up. He's like, I would also like to be a Mandalorian. And the armor's like, you can't talk, so no.
But you can be. So now he's a youngling, essentially. So,
yeah, because this is.
Well, now he's a Padawan.
Yeah, because this is. This is what the 3 seasons of The Mandalorian have been building to.
Oh, I'm onto something now. I see what they're doing. He was a youngling before, and now he's officially a Padawan.
In case you forgot what the core relationship of The Mandalorian was, Din channels all 3 seasons of relationship with Grogu and formally adopts him. It's a great moment. It really is. When the armorer calls him Din Grogu, which is awesome because it's what this show...
Should have been Din Baby Yoda.
From the moment we laid eyes on Baby Yoda, we knew this is where this was going, with Din formally making him his son. And that's what happens. And then Din goes back to Navarro, and he's like, Carl Weathers, can I have some land, please? And he's like, yes. Yeah. And then Din's like, look, I got you IG-11. He's back. Taika Waititi's back.
Yeah, Taika Waititi's back. The voiceover of Taika Waititi's back. And then now he's the what's it called? He's the sheriff in town. He's the
kinda He's just living life.
What do they call it? The
marshal?
Yeah. IG-12 now is the marshal. Good job, IG-12.
Yeah. And then Din goes up to the Captain Teva and he's like, I'm a bounty hunter, and if you guys ever have any rogue Imperials that need dealing with, give me a call and we'll handle it. And then we get a great final pan out shot of Din hanging out on his front porch with Grogu levitating a frog, and then we close out. I said this to you off air. That should just be the end of The Mandalorian. That's the show. The proper... That should be it.
Yep.
Because that that what he has at the end of this episode is what he's wanted
The whole
from
time?
The whole time. Like, his character arc, even though he doesn't feel like he goes on much of one in season 3, it's complete. His story's complete, it feels like.
Yeah.
So I honestly hope we don't get a season 4, and the next time we see him is when he gets roped into whatever this Grand Admiral Thrawn thing is.
They should call it the Shenanigans of Thrawn. That's what should be the name of that movie.
They should recruit Moff Gideon also to face Thrawn.
It would be incredible if they have to team up with Moff Gideon, because Moff Gideon's like, if there's something I don't like, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn.
He's overrated.
He's overrated.
Overhyped.
You're washed.
He's overhyped.
You're washed.
So yeah, that's it. That's the Mandalorian.
Do you have a suit, Grand Admiral Thrawn? Didn't think so.
Do you have a jetpack?
Do you have a jetpack? Didn't think so. Do you have a cool helmet? No. Where's your cape? Non-existent.
No cape, no spear.
No spear. You're not like that. You're not that guy, pal. Trust
Clones?
me. The clones? Didn't see any more clones of you. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
I love Moff Gideon. And yeah, that's it's a inconsistent season of The Mandalorian, but episodes 7 and 8 are phenomenal and remind me of why the show is great.
Yep. So let's give out some awards, and then after I want to end with what's coming, because now we're at the conversation of what's next.
Yeah.
So go. You could read the awards this time.
I don't have them up.
Crap. I have them.
I rely on you to do this.
You do rely on me.
You're
to
the
do
presenter.
this. Yeah. I'm the armorer.
This is the way.
This is the way. What's the best relationship in this show? Moff Gideon to Beskar.
Moff Gideon and Mandalorian.
Should I do my bit? Should I do the bit? All right, so Paz Vizsla is the best character in this whole show. So I'm going to run down this list, and I'm going to make this very fun. So, your best... Oh, we'll start from the bottom. Best relationship, Paz Vizsla and the Armorer. Most underrated character, Paz Vizsla. Most heroic moment, when Paz Vizsla sacrifices himself. Best bit, when Paz Vizsla loses his son because he's a bad dad. Best battle, when Paz Vizsla leads the troops in episode 5. Best cameo, Paz Vizsla in the episode of Book of Boba Fett. I'm going back, but it still works. Best set is when Paz Vizsla dies. Best 1v1 or more of a 1v5 when Paz Vizsla fights the Praetorian Guard. Best heat check performance when Paz Vizsla goes 1v5 against the Praetorian Guard. Funniest moment is when Paz Vizsla looks at Bo-Katan take the helmet off. It's just like, what is she doing? This is crazy. This is madness. Best exposition dump when Paz Vizsla. I don't know. What is the best exposition dump from Paz Vizsla?
Probably when he's talking about how Din Djarin's an apostate.
Yeah. You're the apostate. Okay, perfect. Best source material callback. The fact that Paz Vizsla and his son are now the new Boba Fett and Jango Fett. Best NPC is... What's the best? Oh, Paz Vizsla's son is the best NPC. Favorite action sequence when Paz Vizsla sacrifices himself. Best musical moment is when the Praetorian Guard walk out to take care of Paz Vizsla. Best line is when Paz Vizsla does the sacrifice. And whatever he says to them when he walks in the room, or just him saying this is the way specifically from Paz Vizsla is the best line. The rest world building or lore moment is when what is the best Paz Vizsla?
Paz Vizsla being the descendant of
yeah. That's him being the descendant of Tar Vizsla. Favorite shot is when all the Praetorian Guard are like surrounding him and he's got the Gatling gun ready to go. Favorite performance is Jon Favreau as Paz Vizsla. Favorite character is Paz Vizsla, and the best moment is when Paz Vizsla sacrifices himself. We're done. We've done it. There it is. Good job, Paz Vizsla. You've really redeemed. He's the one that needed redeeming from last season because he was just a jerk in Book of Boba Fett. He was just the worst.
He really did redeem himself.
He was just the worst. He was just a jerk. He sucked.
Now for real though.
All right, what's the best relationship?
It's still Din and Grogu.
Yeah, nothing comes close to it.
And nothing episode 8 reminded me of that.
Yep.
Like when they team up to face the Praetorian Guards, and then the ending with them when he adopts Grogu, like this is the relationship that the whole show was built on, and it still works, and it still pulls at the heartstrings after all this time. So that's it. That's it for me. I don't know if you have anything different.
No, I agree 100%. They work so well together. And that is the one good thing about, your character being sure of themselves, is like sure about their feelings and how they feel about the people that they love. And he loves this kid at this point. He loves him. He cares for him. He is his keeper, but also now the kid is capable, and I think he's gonna help him become even more capable. I still am holding out, not hope, but I still am holding out my theory that whenever this whole Grogu thing is like, Grogu is going to be the second coming of Tar Vizsla. I think that's the whole thing that they're playing towards. And I don't think that's over, but I think that he's going to still, once the kid is, able to make his own choices, he is going to go to the Mandalorian path.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that.
Who's the most underrated character? Dang it. Is this one just Paz Vizsla? No, it's not.
Most underrated. I think I'm going to say the armor.
Yeah, that's a great choice. It's a great choice.
She gets a lot to do this season. She has some great action sequences. She actually moves the plot forward instead of just saying cryptic things. She actually feels like a character that has a proper motivation in terms of installing Bo-Katan as the true ruler of Mandalore, even though it kind of came out of nowhere. But I'm glad she had something to do. And yeah, I really liked the armor of the season.
That's a great one. This is crazy to say, but I think it's Grogu's the most underrated character this season.
That's a great pick.
Because it's the development that it's the lengths that he's gone. I mean, is he talking now? Is he like baby talking now?
Yeah, he's like, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, he's babbling now. He's much more capable now, and like
has much more like agency.
Yeah, agency. Like he can actually is capable of doing stuff, and I think it goes hand in hand with the relationship piece. He's just able to feel stuff now and care about people and protect people. Like he's really on, like, whether it be the Mandalorian or the Jedi path, like he's on the right path.
Yeah, that's a great pick, especially because it felt like he was going to get a lot of, I feel like a lot of people felt he was getting some unnecessary exposure. So I do think Grogu's role was kind of pulled back a little bit this season, where he was doing a lot of things kind of in the background, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, good on the show to not just beat the cuteness of the Baby Yoda thing over the head, like, or the cuteness of Grogu. So,
and when they did those things, it worked. Like, the scene in Grief Karga's office,
right,
where he's in the IG-11 suit,
or the scene with the what do you call them? The Babu Fricks people.
Oh, the Anzelians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most heroic moment?
This one is seriously. This one's legitimately Paz Vizsla's sacrifice.
Just had social media in a frenzy. Like, people were like, "Oh shoot! Like, Paz Vizsla's really about to go," and it's like, it was a bit shocking. Like, you really were like feeling for this guy, and like, you now in hindsight, you can kind of like, you put so much time to him and his son. Like, oh shoot! Like, this is kind of coming. Maybe the only thing I would have liked is maybe a little bit more out of, like, the fact that a son just lost his father, and like also seeing that with the Mandalorian creed, and that maybe should have also given a little bit more urgency to Din too, like with this idea of he could lose Grogu at any given moment. Like, see if the season focused more on those things with the Mandalorians, I think it would have played better. But,
and also what was cool about that moment, in particularly role with Paz, was he overcomes that first wave. Like, he defeats the Commandalorians, and then like you're like, oh shoot, like he might actually survive this, and then the Praetorian Guard show up, and you're like, oh no, and he goes out, all great heroic sacrifices is him going out on his shield, which was really sad, but it was also awesome at the same time.
What's the best bit?
I think it's Grogu in Garga's office. It legitimately like made me laugh.
Yeah.
Like when you realize that the yes no buttons, and Din's like, he's too young to be in that thing, and Grogu goes no, and Din's like, what do you mean no? like they're like, Grogu's like in his angsty, like, rebellious kid phase. And I love Carl Weathers' line readings in this scene where he's like, I'm thinking he's saying he's old enough to pilot it. Like, Carl Weathers is taking Grogu's side. Like, he wants to see what's going to happen. Like, Carl Weathers is an advocate for chaos. He's like, I want to see what's going to happen with this kid in this killer droid suit.
That's a good one.
It was a fun scene.
You're wrong, though. The best bit is the fact that Moff Gideon thinks he is the Empire. It's by far the best thing this show has, and it did it from season 1 to now. This guy thinks he is the main character of the Empire. He is the end all be all of the Empire. There's nothing better than him in the Empire. There's nothing better than him. Then he's like, why would I clone other people when I could just clone myself? Because I'm the greatest thing that ever happened.
Also, what sells that is when he first shows up and he's like, I made the Dark Troopers better.
Yeah.
I put something in that they never had.
Yeah.
Me.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what will make me better? The Force. And then he looked over and he's just like, I don't see Thrawn coming up with these ideas. And they're like, will you let Thrawn go? And he's like, absolutely not.
I love the beef he has with Thrawn.
Yep.
Where he's like, he sucks.
Yep. That is a good plot point to put. And in the Dave Filoni movie is like,
where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah, not around here. Guess who is here?
Me. Because I'm him.
Guess what I got? The best car. Yeah. Y'all didn't think about that, did you? He was making some great advancements for the Empire.
Yeah. He made the stormtroopers almost indestructible. Besides the fact that they had to fight Mandalorians.
Yeah. If they didn't have to fight, if they would have agreed with him and just full out all forces go to Mandalore and like, let's truthfully secure Mandalore, like the entirety of the Shadow Council are like, all right, this guy's maybe onto something because there's just literal indestructible armor. Like, why don't we just make everything we have out of Beskar?
Yeah.
See, they didn't understand the vision. It is the best. Yeah, that's by far the best bit of
really
Moff
good.
Gideon just thinking he's the greatest thing of all time, and I can't disagree.
It's really great.
Like when they put up like the Mount Rushmore of greatest Imperials, like Moff Gideon's got to be. It's like Tarkin, Thrawn, Gideon.
Don't say Thrawn. Don't do it.
He's gonna lose it.
He'll be real mad.
Yeah. What is the best battle? All right, 3, 2, 1.
It's
episode
the last
8.
one,
Yep. There's just from the start to the finish. That fight is
It's a straight
insane.
adrenaline rush. It's crazy.
Just watching all of them just like, faction battle run it, fly at each other. I'm like, this is it.
All the main ones do like main one things.
Yeah.
Like Bo-Katan does stuff with the Darksaber, the armor does stuff with the cannons.
The armor is going crazy.
What's her name? Casca Reeves from Axe Wolves crew does a nice little when she flies over a bridge and then slides under it.
Yep.
Like everyone's like, you see how capable they all are, and you're like, this is Star Wars.
Yeah, this is Star Wars. As they say in Star Wars.
Let's do that Star Wars.
What's the best cameo? And I guess we have to go real world cameo.
I was going to say the Praetorian Guards.
Oh, shoot. You might be right, actually. I think you're correct.
Because I was actually like, whoa.
I'm going to agree. I'm actually going to agree. I was going to say it was Christopher Lloyd, and specifically because he's a Dooku sympathizer.
That's also hilarious. That's the second. That's 1B.
Yeah. But I'm going to also go with the Praetorian.
But I was like, whoa, the Praetorian Guard. How did Moff Gideon get this?
You're the Praetorian Guard from Star Wars.
I was like, I thought they only hung out with the Emperor.
No. Guess who they don't hang out with? Grand Admiral Thrawn, because he's not like that. Guess who is like that? Moff Gideon, because he could get them. He's got them on the short list. He said, yo, you guys need a job? And they're like, well, yup. What's the best set?
The best set. I'm partial to the new Navarro.
New Navarro's cool.
New Navarro
I like
was
the
cool.
New Navarro.
I liked where the Mandalorians were hanging out originally. That first place where they were all holed up, the little beach place.
Yeah, that was mine. I do like that. I'm gonna say the living mines themselves.
Yeah.
And just the waters. I think that's all pretty cool. So Mandalore itself is a pretty mysterious place that I think will be. What if that's where the big battle takes? I do think the big battle for Dave Filoni's movie is going to take place on the World Between Worlds, but that place is still pretty cool. What is the best 1v1?
I'm going to say Bo-Katan and Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
Just barely over the Gideon and Din fight.
Beating the living crap out of him.
But, yeah, that fight had a proper amount of emotion behind it. The tension was palpable. You really didn't know which way that was going to go. You could have seen it going either way. You could have seen Gideon kind of getting the upper hand and escaping, or her killing him and getting her full vengeance. Like, you could have seen it either way. I really like that fight. I also... it's not quite a 1v1, but honorable mention to Ahmed Best's sequence. Rescuing Grogu. I thought it was really cool. I'm a sucker for a dual-wielding lightsaber Jedi.
And, like, 2 colors and, like, the worst scenario.
He had a tricked-out robe.
Yeah.
He had the gold lace in the robe. I was like,
He just picked that up, too. He's like, God, man.
That's where he was. He's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Jedi simple.
I just went to the store, and the whole... everybody started turning on me. It was crazy. I'm going to also go with that. It is also the
Gideon
versus Bo-Katan. It's great. It's the reason why Bo-Katan's the main character of this season. All summed up,
man.
He destroys the Darksaber, but she still. I mean, she doesn't get the best of him. But
that coward Din Djarin shoots him in the back.
Yeah, because he couldn't fight him head on because he's not like that. Just like Thrawn's not like that. Best heat check performance.
Don't make me say Paz Vizsla again.
Are you gonna say Paz Vizsla?
Man, I might actually give it to I'm a Best character.
Okay. Yeah, that did really have social media on fire. People were talking about that.
Caloran Beck.
Yeah.
This is a cool moment, mostly because, like, anytime we've ever seen Order 66, it's Jedis just being murdered.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see, like, a Jedi actually get a one-up on the clone troopers and escape, and we don't know where that character is. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really cool. It made him really important to the plot.
Yep.
And it made him, like, finally we saw, like, a capable Jedi that wasn't someone that wasn't like a main character,
right? Yep.
Where he gets out, like he kills all these clones and he gets out,
right?
So I think as far as like a heat check, like it's only that one scene,
right?
He does some really cool stuff, and that's who I'm going with.
Yeah, it is frustrating that this is in his own show, but it's Din in episode 8 going against like 1v10ing, like he's just clearing, like you said it before, like. Din Djarin is still Din Djarin at the end of the day. Like, there's a reason he's the main character, and that's because he's one of the most capable Mandalorians out there. I mean, he's an absolute issue and just difficult to defeat in a fight. So I think that's my favorite heat check performance of like the idea of just him going in and him just being like, there's nothing that can really stop me right now. Like I don't care if it's Praetorian Guard. I don't care if it's these new troopers. Like it's the only person that can stop me is Moff Gideon. And guess who I probably could stop? Thrawn. And what is your favorite exposition dump?
I think it's Captain Teva when he sums up what's going on in the first 4 episodes. He was like pirates and New Republic and all this other stuff and mysterious Imperial things. I have a feeling this is all going to come together at some point, and I'm thinking it's going to be episode 5.
Yep, that's good.
I was just like, wait a second, is he just telling us that everything in the first 4 episodes is connected?
I think, you know what, I'm going to save that for my favorite world building moment, but, what is my favorite exposition dump? You know what, I will use this one. It's the New Republic, it's like the whole sequence, it's the kind of the same thing, but like, it's the sequence where like, he goes to the Mandalorians, he's just like, look, the New Republic kind of sucks, so we're gonna need, like, this is everything that's happening, like, I'm gonna need you guys to help me out a little bit, and, like, you guys can come help. So, I think that's the best exposition dump of him going to the Mandalorians and being like, look, he says look right before, he's like, look, I don't know what else to do. There's no Jedi around, like, everything sucks. Luke Skywalker refuses to accept my calls. He thinks he's big time now, so I'm gonna need your help.
Yeah.
What is the best source material callback?
All right, this is the one where I said you weren't going to see it coming, and my best source material callback isn't even a source material callback from Star Wars. It's a callback to Batman 89, because in episode 5, Din does the Michael Keaton Batman starship flip that they do in Batman 89. It's the same shot. He does the moonfall, like the ship goes up and over and down. It's the same shot.
He's above you. He's below you.
It's the same exact shot, and I was like, "That's Batman 89. Yep. That's awesome."
Whoop.
So that's my source material callback, is the fact that shot called back to Batman 89.
That's good. What's the best source material callback? I mean,
Separatists?
It's tough not to pick that. I just love the fact that this guy's a Dooku sympathizer. I think give Dooku some more love. Like, what about, I don't know what Dooku has done in the last year, because they did the whole thing in Star Wars in the Tales of the Jedi, and now they're doing that. Just random people are Dooku sympathizers. That's it.
Christopher Lloyd should have went, Bo-Katan, twice the prize.
Bo-Katan and another Bo-Katan, twice the prize, double the fall. Nice. Yeah, okay. My real best source material callback is that's world building, what I'm gonna pick. So I guess it will be Man, is it just is it just the fact that the High Republic just sucks and like history repeats itself? That's probably the best, like that,
or like a future source material callback to the idea of like we're getting like the First Order, like it's happening,
right.
Like we're seeing the machinations of it.
Well, no, that's my favorite world building moment.
Shout out to all you people that think the sequels aren't canon.
Yeah, yep. What's the best NPC?
Do the Anzellans count?
Sure.
I like the Anzellans. I like the pirate guy. Any of the pirates.
Yep. Pirates are good.
I feel like, unfortunately, none of the other Mandalorians are NPC-ish enough.
Because they're not in it, like, especially the ones that were in Mandalore.
Like, if we would have had, like, a Mandalorian that had, like, didn't have any lines, but had, like, a cool secret weapon, like, that would have qualified.
Yeah.
Like, I needed a Mandalorian with, like, a Morning Star that didn't have any lines.
Or, like, a broadsword or something, like...
Or a big axe.
Yeah, where'd you get that? Oh, Axe Wolf should have had an axe, man. You fumbled.
A big axe-wielding Mandalorian. Like, I wish one of those Mandalorians would have had, like, a thing. Because then they could have qualified.
Yeah. Who is the best? Oh, it's his son. It is Paz Vizsla's son is the best NPC. Because, like, NPCs do great when they get affected by the world, and nobody gets affected by the world more than Paz Vizsla's son. For like multiple he's the first person that gets accepted into the Creed in the season. He gets taken away. He's got big NPC.
He loses the duel.
The duel to Grogu. He's got perfect NPC energy, and he did it 3 separate times. His dad dies. Like he gets oh crap! No, he's ascending from NPC. Oh no, he's got motivations. His dad died.
I'm also the battle droid, the one battle droid that was talking to Bo-Katan.
Yep. That's good. That's good. Yeah, Paz Vizsla's son. The new Boba Fett.
It's pretty good.
Best favorite action sequence.
It's hard not to pick the episode 8 one, man.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I like the episode 5 stuff. The dogfight. I like the dogfight with Din and the pirates. I like the taking of the streets.
Yeah.
That culminates in the armor coming up from behind the pirates and just getting busy with that hammer, those hammers. So just to not say the episode 8 stuff, I'm going to say the episode 5 stuff. Just that whole sequence of Din and Bo-Katan versus the pirates, and then with all the stuff happening on the ground.
I'm going to use the same logic to not using episodes 8. I'm going to go Axe Woe versus Bo-Katan, and it's specifically because of the double foot kick she gives him in the beginning, and I'm like, wait a minute, Bo-Katan's not to be trifled with. Yeah, that kick was tough. They were just in a random field in Nebraska and just
chilling. They were tailgating.
They were just tailgating. Big game coming up, just chilling, and Bo-Katan just pulled up on them. They were just like, well, yeah, that's a fun fight. Really good, that's a little fun fight. Best musical moment.
Anytime the Mandalorian theme plays.
Yeah.
In any iteration.
Yeah, good job, Ludwig Göransson. You're still him. I'm gonna pick when the Praetorian Guard show up for the first time to take out Paz Vizsla. I was like, uh-oh. Like that. Uh-oh.
Yeah, anytime a character has their own theme song.
Yeah.
And it's like very like soft, like violins. You're like, oh no.
This is it.
He's about to get executed.
Yeah. better learn to move to a new planet, buddy. Little Paz Vizsla.
Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy.
Get ready to learn freaking Kaminoan, buddy. Oh, that's my favorite source material callback. They said the Kaminoans in episode 3.
They did.
I successfully made contact with the Kaminoans. Shout out Obi-Wan. What's the best world building or lore moment?
I like all the stuff they did with the New Republic. I thought that stuff was really interesting. And I wish they'd dove into it more. If this was Andor, they would have built a whole season around it.
That's what they did. Yep.
About the idea that like maybe the New Republic isn't like this all good force of thing. It's just different politicians running things now, and they're not murdering heaps of people, but they're brainwashing people shortly because that's a mind flayer. No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
No.
It's a mind saver.
Yeah. I'm the good guys. We're the good guys. It's the Shadow Council. It's like, you're like, uh-oh. It's like, these people are moving behind the scenes. Sipping for Thrawn.
I like a good Shadow Council.
Yeah. We can't do anything until this guy returns. And Moff Gideon said, I'm right here.
I am him.
I am him. Look at my suit. Y'all don't have this. Guess what Thrawn has? Nothing, because he's nowhere. Nowhere to be found. He's probably dead.
Call him up.
Call him up.
He ain't gonna answer.
You can. Guess who you can call me? You have called me. God. Maybe he... you know what? What's your favorite shot so we can get into this?
It's... I was gonna say it's Bo-Katan with the Darksaber, but it's Bo-Katan on the throne.
Yeah, it's good.
That shot is like, I'm the main character now. Mm-hmm. That's with her helmet, and she's like posted up. Mm-hmm. She's like, have you seen The Mandalorian? I'm her.
Yeah, yep.
See that title card?
Yep.
That's about me.
It's mine now. Just like the Darksaber, it's mine now. Give it.
So yeah, that's just a great shot.
It's them finding the Mythosaur. I think is pretty... I thought that was pretty cool.
Din Djarin's a dope.
Yeah.
He just fell into the water.
Yeah. Oh!
I did like that.
Yeah.
when he right before he falls, he goes, whoop.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And Bo-Katan's like,
oh, God. Surely there's nothing down there, right? Surely there's nothing down there, right?
And Bo-Katan's like, hey, Armor.
There's something down there.
I think I saw a Mythosaur. And the Armor's like, get out of here.
That Mythosaur is a unit. Like, the eye was as big as Bo-Katan. I said, uh-oh, you better get out of there. Yeah, I do think they're saving I was thinking about it. I was like, there's no way the Mythosaur doesn't show up in the finale, right? Like, there's just absolutely no way. And I was like, the Mythosaur would be the greatest thing to take out Thrawn. That would be, like, the best version of that. Favorite performance?
Katie Sackhoff. They basically gave her the main character energy of the show, and she seized upon it in a tremendous way.
Agree 100%.
That character was compelling. She was interesting. She felt legitimate. Like everything she did felt motivated and legitimate. And by the end of it, you're rooting for her to take the throne. Like, you want it to happen.
Right.
And that flows all through Katie Sackhoff's performance. It's so awesome that they ported her right over from her voice performance in Clone Wars to this, and she's owned it.
Yep.
Absolutely owned it.
Yep. Favorite character?
Bo-Katan.
Yep.
This was, as much as you want to be like, it was kind of weird that they kind of backseated Din to make her the main character. She earned it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like she didn't rise to the moment. She was the main character of season 3, and she played it perfectly.
Yep.
She was great.
Yep.
That's I can't sway off of that.
I can, because it's Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon's the best character this season. And I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm full out serious that Giancarlo Esposito comes in anywhere that he goes, and he immediately is just
dominates
the
that
greatest.
8 episode.
Oh, yeah. Oh my! When he comes back and he means business. When he comes back into, like, there's no more crap. There's no more dark truth. No, he said, you know who's gonna solve this? Me. I'm the only person.
I am the Dark Trooper.
I am the Dark Troopers. I am the Clone Wars. I am everything that there's ever been in Star Wars.
I'm the Mandalorians.
I'm the Mandalorians. I'm gonna be the Jedi. I'm gonna be the Sith. It's me.
If it was me in this suit, Luke Skywalker wouldn't have gotten away.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker would have been packed up. Yeah, we would have never got anything else besides that. It's me. So yeah, I don't know. There's just the injection of energy that Giancarlo Esposito brings to anything he does.
I have a new Dark Trooper suit.
You took that away before they took their last breath.
You smothered them before they could take their first breath.
Go.
Pretty great.
And then your favorite moment.
The whole Din adopting Grogu, and you're now Din Grogu, like, that hit me here. Yep. So that's probably it for me. Also, I really like the talk that Bo-Katan and the Armor have.
Yeah.
When the Armor is basically like, you're the one, like, you walk both worlds. You're the one that needs to lead us to this, which was also really great.
That's good. the last part of the episode where he's just watching his son just play and just sitting there, and I'm like, this is it. This is everything. You're right. This is everything that he's probably, he got this newfound sense of purpose, and he got it. He got everything he wanted. He got his land. He got his son. He's just a dad, and now he's got a stable job. He's got everything. He's living the American dream, and that's the Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, it was, like I said, totally inconsistent season.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was the 7th and 8th episodes were as high bar as get. Yep. They were incredible.
All right, let's make the nerds happy. What's this all leading to?
I think exactly what I said. I think the Mandalorian proper as a show is probably done. And the next time we see Din will probably be maybe in the Ahsoka series, like at the end, when she's like, I'm getting a team together. Yeah,
putting together a team.
I'm here to talk to you about the Ahsoka initiative.
I'm here to talk to you about the revenge, the Thrawn Vengers. We're gonna take this blue idiot out. That's exactly what Quaritch said too in Avatar. We're gonna take these blue idiots out.
Why so blue?
Why so blue?
They should get Stephen Lang in just to say that to Thrawn. I have one question for you, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Why so blue?
Why so blue? But yeah, I think the chess board is being set. I think that the Mandalorian is now, again, they put him in the, it's very much, he's just ready to get the call. That's exactly where his character is.
Because he's ostensibly like retired gunslinger at this point.
Right, so he's ready to get that call of like, I'm ready to go. And then Ahsoka, of all people, is going to be like, hey, I'm gonna need your help. We're going to fight this blue guy. And he's going to be like, what's so difficult about that? He's got the biggest army in like the universe. He's like, oh, that's what the deal is. Okay.
They're going to loop in Bo-Katan.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be Mando, like, I think Bo-Katan's going to go get the Mandalorian, going to be like, hey, can you come help my buddy? He's my pal. And yeah, I think it's essentially, this is going to be Dave Filoni paying off everything that he's put all of his time and effort into his favorite character, Ahsoka Tano, and being like, all right, well, me and Jon Favreau have really cultivated this new character over the last, how many, 4 years? Bo-Katan in live action is playing well. Now I have Ahsoka, like I'm getting, essentially, this is Ahsoka versus Thrawn. This is really what this whole thing is leading to. But then, making them, it's like it's Cap, Thor, and Iron Man. That's what Mandalorian, Bo-Katan, and Ahsoka essentially are now. And then you just throw any other characters that you have, like, maybe we do get a live action version of Cal Kestis through this thing too, like maybe because he'll be older by that time, but he'll still be ready to possibly help if he, obviously we haven't played the game yet, it's coming out this week, but if he is still alive, that would be a good thing. You pull Cameron Monaghan in there and you say like, hey, like now you get a chance in live action to go with them. Like I don't know if you knock on the door of Ewan McGregor. I don't know how you can plausibly get that incorporated. Or what are we talking? Episode 6?
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Not him. I'm talking. I mean Luke Skywalker. That's what I meant. I don't know if you you knock on the door, and I don't know if that's like a. I just don't. Again, I don't know how that play. Like I don't know how you justify that by the time you hit Episode 7. Like you think he goes on, because that would be before. That would be before anything with the Jedi. Before anything with the Jedi Temple. Before anything with Kylo Ren. Like. Maybe I don't know if you do put Luke Skywalker in this movie. It's just, do you get an actor to play him, or do you just try to perfect the mocap work that you were doing?
Right.
So
that's a good question.
So yeah, you got people you can pull. There's people around the.
And it's a movie too.
It's a movie, yeah. So you're gonna get that cinematic experience. So this is it. This like it truthfully is like the Dave Filoni's Endgame. Like, and I guess the litmus test is gonna be Ahsoka. Like, how does Ahsoka look? We watched the trailer. Literally, the last thing we did before we hopped on is we watched the trailer, and that trailer goes insane. And you're like. Yeah. It's the feeling thing that we talk about. Like you feel it, like you feel like something special is brewing from that trailer. Like that, this show might be everything that you'd ask for, and to not end her character, but be the bridge point in between for her to have her showdown with Thrawn.
Yeah,
man, the Grand Admiral Thrawn, he's coming.
He's soft.
He's soft. He's overrated.
You asked Moff Gideon.
He's overrated. He's overrated. I didn't get packed up by a teenager. You did, Thrawn. You got packed up by a teenager. That's okay. They had to crash a ship into me to kill me, so... It says a lot about a person.
I hope he comes back.
Oh, it would be so... The top dollar I would give for him to have to team up with them to take Thrawn out, because if there's somebody that's going to take this empire over, it's not going to be him. I would give anything. It's my whole thing that I hope Korich and Jake have to team up in Avatar to take down Neytiri.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me write 4. No, the 4 got no notes. I can't write 4. Let me write 5.
They have to bring Gideon back. I don't know how, but they have to.
It's Giancarlo Esposito.
They've roped it in at this point where he's like the recurring antagonist.
Yeah. He can never, and now he plausibly can probably never be killed off. Just clone that guy. Give him the memories. Why so Mandalorian? Why so Beskar?
Oh, man.
Gideon.
Great. I'm glad
stuff.
He came back.
What other stuff can you pull from Rebels that you would like? What is there any other threads that they need to go from around that time?
I don't think so.
It's just Thrawn. Like Thrawn's your Thanos.
Unless you want to go do the crazy Ezra time travel stuff.
I wouldn't. I have just a sneaking suspicion that he's thinking about it.
I wouldn't touch it.
Me neither, because it's too much. I think it's too. I don't know how you do that in a movie. I don't know. It's too much. But you would have to do it in a movie because it's gonna be like one of the biggest effects on the Star Wars universe. But I just think you take the mystique away from Star Wars and then you turn it into a comic book if you do that. I don't think that's the right decision. So, what else do you need? You need Ezra, which she's coming back. You have Ahsoka, you have the Mandalorian, you have Bo-Katan, Sabine Wren. Who else? Hera's there. Like,
yeah, it feels like he's got this tied up. Like he's ready to tie it up.
He's got he has a Mandalorian. He has your crew. Like,
honestly, having Din Djarin feels like a bonus. Like I feel like he was gonna do this anyway. Mm-hmm. But it just so happened that the Mandalorian got so hot, so he was like, I'll take that.
Yeah, because essentially this is going to be the season 7 of Clone Wars equivalent to like Rebels. This is going to be the last season of Rebels as this movie. But he was just like, oh shoot, now. Well, again, that goes back to one thing that sticks that's tough about the season is just like that whole idea. Like now I feel like he realized that after season 2, and he's just like, well, now I need to get him in this thing. So why can't he just be happy on the farm?
Right. He's gonna get pulled back in, and that avenue for that character kind of works because like the Mandalorian kind of started as like this space western, like this lone gunslinger, and that's such a lone gunslinger trope of him being like
Han Solo went through that.
Yeah, like I'm retired.
Yeah,
and they're like, one more fight, Din Djarin.
Oh, it's not. I mean, Han Solo went through like you're not just a lone gunslinger. Like you're a part of something bigger. Maybe they should have also leaned into that maybe this season of like, you're a part of this Mandalorian creed, like, and you know what? I'll give them credit. They did do that.
Maybe talking to cameos, you call Alden Ehrenreich and have him be Han
Solo in that.
For something.
Yeah, that would be it. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, you call him up and you're just like, hey, they might need hey, there's people around the galaxy that still need help. Like, this is the bridge gap. Like, this is going to be the end all bridge gap between 6 and 7. Is like. Project Necromancer is probably going to come back full force. Maybe this movie is more interesting than I gave it credit for. Because now I'm thinking, and I'm also watching the Ahsoka trailer, and I'm like, this needs to be a movie. Like this feels like a cross between how Andor looked and felt with what made the Mandalorian so great. So, man, can it just be August already? I need this show. I need this show to come out. It looks so good. It looks stupid good. They took the budget of whatever they were doing in the middle of the Mandalorian. They said, put it on Ahsoka. We don't care. People will forget if Ahsoka goes crazy.
Bet you won't see Lizzo in Ahsoka. I'll tell you that much.
But the chances are slim, but never zero.
True.
Yeah. What if she just kills Lizzo? Then she just pulls up, just kills the character off.
Whoa.
What if she just starts? That's Ahsoka's journey. She just starts packing up everybody from the Mandalorian seasons. She just goes planet to planet. The Mandalorian's been and just
she goes tell Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant's gone. Why would you do this? I need the Mandalorian to be mad when he fights. Kills Grief Karga.
Oh, he's like Gohan.
Oh no! Kills Grief Karga.
No.
But you gotta start with her killing Cara Dune, and everybody's like, well.
She stabs Grief Karga, and then she goes, if he dies, he dies.
No, not like this. Not like this.
Oh, man. That was fun.
Maybe the kid that like had like the broomstick, like in episode 8, could be like the Luke Skywalker to Paz Vizsla's son's Boba Fett.
Don't bring that guy back. He's gone through enough.
Paz Vizsla, he's the real MVP.
What a legend.
He's the real MVP.
Thought he was just a salty idiot, and then he turned out to be the best.
Yeah, maybe he should have been maybe he should have wielded the Darksaber.
Maybe, but nah.
What if he had the Darksaber against the Praetorian Guard?
Oh, he would have won.
Imagine, the Gatling gun in one hand and the Darksaber in the other hand. Yeah, give him the Darksaber. He would have been much more efficient with it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, we gotta go, man.
We do gotta go, man. Follow us on Twitter at @ProjectINF_pod. We're not verified.
Nope.
We didn't pay $8.
No, we didn't pay the $8. Much to most people's demise, we didn't pay the $8. Sorry.
You can find us on Facebook at the Project Infinite Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram
At the Project Infinite Pod.
New episodes posted every Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. This time it'll be Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Next week we're going to talk Guardians of the Galaxy because Volume 3 is upon us, and we'll be talking. We've already talked about Guardians 1, so we'll probably talk Guardians 2.
Yep.
Probably talk a little bit of Endgame. Probably talk, probably a lot of expectations and a lot of just general Marvel kind of. This is kind of not it. This isn't it, but this is the one they really have to hit.
Yeah. Yep. This is one of their OG legacy teams going. Like this is their secondary legacy team essentially. Yeah. So this is it, and this is James Gunn's swan song. So
and this, like I said, this a lot of pressure on this movie right now to perform because of Ant-Man, because of Thor: Love and Thunder. They need to kind of reinvigorate the fan base a little bit, and the movie going audience in general needs to get kind of reinvigorated because with Mario lingering, John Wick 4 was really great. Yeah. Like it feels like kind of like the others are starting to perform.
Yeah, and the summer's gonna be a tough battlefield. Like Indiana Jones's swan songs this summer. Mission Impossible's out. The Barbie,
Flash.
The Flash, Barbieheimer, the Project X Day, like
Transformer.
Like this summer is just packed to the brim. So if Marvel can get the first part of the summer to be theirs, like that's a win in my set. Because the summer's too crowded. Like if they were trying to go against all those movies, like would have been tough. It would have been real tough. But if they can get May to themselves, like May and into June, because once the second half of June hits, there's just no stop. So
yeah. So we'll talk. We'll preview Guardians 3, talk a little Guardians 2, and we'll probably both have a couple hours at least in Jedi Survivor at that point, so we'll probably do a little bit of first impressions, because I don't expect... I'm definitely not going to be finished with the game by then.
You're just not like that. You know who would have been finished with the game?
Moff Gideon.
You know who would not have been finished with the game?
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
And Grand Admiral Thrawn's probably playing on a PS3.
But we'll definitely have some first impressions at least of Jedi Survivor because
I'm looking forward to it. I love Cal Kestis's story. It's the same thing as the Guardians. Like it just came out of it felt like it just came out of left field. Like I just was not expecting to be as invested in the story and that character. I think the work that Cameron Monaghan has done on that character and the team has just been great. And he's such a great addition to the Star Wars universe and in a different media.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. But on that note, from the Paz Vizsla of the podcast.
Oh, no. That means I'm a deadbeat dad and I died.
But you're him.
Okay.
You're undeniably him and you have that dog in you.
You should have gave me Moff Gideon. This would have been one of the only times would have been okay with that if you gave me Moff
Gideon. Yeah. Paz Vizsla. What a legend.
What a legend is right. Just from the Oliver Queen mold of people.
Yeah, just R.I.P. R.I.P. to a real one.
Yeah, R.I.P. to the realest one.
But we'll see you next week for little Guardians preview. Until then, goodbye.
Peace.